Ditch all your old machine binding methods because this is the only one you will ever need. Here I am binding a pretty big size quilt using my favorite machine binding technique. I sew on one side, starting on the back, and then I flip it over to the front and will attach it to the front of my quilt. I join my end pieces with a diagonal seam just like all the rest of my strips. On my bottom strip, I want to leave a 2.5 inch tail. Top strip I'll cut just so it's about 1/4 inch above my bottom strip. I'll open my top strip up so that it faces down, and I'll open my bottom strip so that it opens up, matching my right sides of the fabric together. I'll sew diagonally. Instead of butting my two pieces up together, this reduces the bulk when you are flipping the pieces over and sewing on the other side. I'll cut off about 1/4 inch on the scrap side of the fabric. I'll press it open with my fingers, no need to iron, and then I will finish sewing my piece on the back side of my quilt. Once I do this, I will flip it over to the other side. You can see that I use a little bit over 1/4 inch, more like 3/8 of an inch when I'm sewing it on, and then I will flip it over so that my flap goes just a little bit further than my seam from the back. When you are sewing your top strip on, you kind of want to pick a spot on your foot that you just keep an eye on the whole entire time, and this helps to create some consistency with the look of your seam on the front. Ideally, you want this to be just on the right side of where that bobbin seam from when you attached it lands. When I get to the corners of my quilt, I don't cut my thread. I will lift my foot up, but I will keep my needle down, and then I will rotate the quilt and then sew down the next side. I also like to backstitch a few stitches here because sometimes my needle won't catch the thread when I'm turning it, and that just ensures that I get a nice catch on both sides. As you can see here, I hit the binding on the back perfectly using this method. When determining how much binding you need for a quilt, I have a very routine method I use. I measure the perimeter of the quilt, so this one happens to be about 92 inches on each side. So if I multiply 92 by 4, I get 368 as the perimeter. I then take that number and divide it by 40 because all width of fabrics you'll get about 40 inches at least out of them. So then I do that, and then I determine that to be 9.2. So I round it up to 10, telling me I'll need about 10 strips. I like my binding to be 2.5 inches in width. So then I multiply my 10 by 2.5 to get a total of 25 inches. I hope this was helpful.